So if you're not passionate and if you don't love what you do, then you're going to quit. You are going to give up.
Alfie Whattam.
Alfie Whattam.
Alfie Whattam, podcast host, author, and speaker, founder of Alpha,
where he creates software and helps people to get the most out of their business.
I had no money. I had literally £100 in my account. I sold all my possessions and it was enough to get the flight ticket. And I moved over there and I had 30 days to find a job. Otherwise I'd have to leave the country. In 2 years I was leading a team. Within 3 years, earning good money. But I didn't feel fulfilled. Don't do it for the money, do it for the joy of doing it in an area that you can be good at and that you can be capable within.
When you go back to that sort of starting phase, what should someone do in the beginning?
The main thing that you need, even before you really launch a company,
You see a million paths in front of you. How do you choose which?
well, certainly don't try to do. If people are hiring strategy consultants, then you deserve to be scammed, in my opinion.
All right. Alfie,
Ryan?
I find it important to start all my podcasts with the same question because it sets a certain narrative for the rest of the conversation.
I've heard the question many times.
That question is, are you happy?
I'm very happy.
What, in your opinion, is required to live a happy life?
I think it's about ensuring health, wealth, and relationships are always and consistently growing in the right direction. So you can be, if we just take wealth, for example, let's say somebody's really, really rich and they're successful financially, but they're obese and they've got a depressed mind and their wife hates them, then that's not happiness, right? Same thing with, imagine you're super healthy, you're ripped, you're jacked, you've got a monk mind, you're enlightened, but you're poor, you've got no money, and nobody loves you. That's not happiness.
Yeah.
Let's say you've got great relationships, your family loves you, but you can't provide for them and your health is failing you, then that's not happiness. You need health, you need, fitness, you need finances, career, you need relationships, your tribe, and you need all of those working, constantly growing. Tony Robbins says that if you're not growing, then you're dying. And the way to feel alive, the way to feel excited, the way to feel energized is to grow. And that's what equals happiness in my mind.
It's funny because we recently pivoted to exactly that, whereby the podcast started out with my search for what's the point, what do I do after uni actually? And over time, I think I've got that part slightly figured out now where I want to go. And now the questions become, okay, all these other stuff that I have in my 20s, right? And I've been fortunate enough to already have a relationship, but there's plenty of people who don't. This health, wealth, and I would call it well-being.
Yeah.
How do I balance that? So that's fascinating. And we'll get down to sort of your 3 pillars in a second.
Sure.
But before we go down that, I have a guiding research hypothesis for this podcast, which is that passion gives purpose. What's your opinion on that?
I'd say that's very true. I would say, to quote Steve Jobs, life is going to be very, very difficult and you're going to get hit in the head by a brick many, many times. So if you're not passionate and if you don't love what you do, then you're going to quit. You are going to give up. So to find that purpose, passion is definitely part of it, but I don't think it's the only thing. I think that a lot of times people have this idea and they go, hey, I want to be, X, and then they come up with some idea because they're passionate about it. And then they dedicate their life to that. And maybe they're just not meant to do that. They're not very good at that. I could not be a basketball player. If that was my passion and that was what I wanted to do, it would not be for me because I'm pretty short and I'm not very good at basketball, right? So that's not within my skill set. Yeah. So you need to be passionate about it, but you need to also be actually capable and good at the thing that you are passionate about in order to do that thing and feel happy doing it. If I was wanting to play basketball, I'd feel miserable because I'd be losing all the time.
Yeah.
A much better thing for me would be to start a basketball commentary company or something like that. So yeah, passion, what was it? Passion equals purpose or something you said?
Yeah, so I mix it a little to get a different in response. In this case, I asked you, passion gives purpose?
True, to a degree. It just depends on the angle that you come at it with.
Yeah. In my research, I found out that the word passion actually, the origin of the word passion actually means to suffer.
Okay.
knowing that context, is there something that you would be willing to suffer for?
I suffer every day. I suffer for my wife, for my kids. I suffer for my team. I have to. I mean, if you're a founder or an entrepreneur, it's the hardest and most painful job in business, in life, in many respects. And you sacrifice so much every single day, and you kill all short-term pleasure and happiness so that one day in the future you'll be able to have an exit or have a huge event and then achieve happiness. With that said, it is obviously quite important to not just live in stoicism all the time, right? I do things like meditation and working out and journaling and drinking AG1, whatever like that is, that there's like little mini things that kind of give me happiness. That's great because it keeps me sane, it keeps me happy, it keeps me motivated. But I don't think there is any pleasure without pain. Mm-hmm. I think people that just seek happiness for the sake of happiness, most of them are losers because they sit around playing video games and watching Netflix all day. They're going for happiness. If you want to go for happiness, then go and take heroin, go and smoke fentanyl or something, right? That's what's going to give you happiness, right? In the short term. In the long term, it's going to fuck up your entire life. Yeah. If you want to be happy, don't try and become happy. Try to become a man or a woman of purpose, of importance. Try to build a business. Try to follow your dream. Try to get into the best, physical shape of your life, the best mental well-being that you can. Build the relationships and be the leader of your tribe. Do these things. And then happiness will come as a result of that. Mm-hmm. Don't go for happiness because that will equal depression. That will equal misery. That will make you suffer.
Knowing that, you say you build it, you suffer for it every day. You build a company with the purpose that one day, hopefully, you can have an exit. What happens if that day doesn't come? Well,
I'm more of a believer of like burn the boats sort of mentality, right? So, that example is there was some general or whatever, and he went to this island and he said to his soldiers, look, we're going to take this island, we're going to storm these beaches, we're going to win, we're going to kill the enemy. And to ensure that success was going to happen, he then burned all of the ships so that the men were going to take the island and win, or they were going to die. Right. That's the mentality that I like to look at things personally. So I never like to think, hey, what if this doesn't happen? Because if you leave that door open, there's a chance it's going to happen. But if you burn the ships, if you leave no exit there available for yourself, in my experience, you're going to find a way to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And all the great people, whether that's Elon Musk, whether that's Kobe, whether that's whatever in any industry, the weird thing is that they all seem to have that same mentality. Yeah. Right? They make it the option, the only option. They put all their time, all their effort, all their money, all their resources, all their energy into achieving that goal. But the second you have like a backup plan, like there's no reason to have a plan B because it distracts from plan A.
Right. It's funny because I will soon be launching a vlog, and I think by the time that this episode comes out, that will actually be out. Okay. And while I was on my travels through Spain, I realized exactly that in many ways, I was constantly contemplating quitting with the podcast because I'm like, you know what, if it fails, I can get a good job. Right? Sure. I have a master, I'm well educated, have experience. And trying to get into that mindset now of like, there is no alternative. I've burnt my ships. This is it. I got to make this work, period. Is something which I've also seen has become very empowering, and because of that, I met Joe and I met you, and I've gotten on a bunch of other clients now that I work with, and it's interesting how as soon as that mindset shift happened, that I also started focusing more on that. Yeah. Is this something you've always inherently known, or have you built towards it?
That is like the question, right? Is entrepreneurship, or whatever word we'd use to describe that, grit maybe, is that inherent? Are you born with it, or is it developed over time? And I don't know the answer. Like, it's probably a combination of the two. My parents are wonderful, lovely, nice people, but they are certainly not ambitious in any sense. They do not want to build a company if they were offered a promotion, they probably wouldn't accept it because they're happy doing what they're doing. Growing up, for whatever reason, I did not have that same mentality. I just wanted to do, give, share, and kind of have more for me and everybody around me. I don't know if that's good or whether that's bad. It just is what it is. Don't want to fight it, just go with it, right? And I don't really know if that's something that can be taught. I've tried to train it with people, but I don't know if it's necessarily something that can be learned in a book. What was the question exactly? Because I'm going off topic.
No, all good. Whether or not you inherently always knew that you had to burn your boats in order for you to go essentially all in.
I don't know if it was ever something I consciously sat down and thought about, to be honest. It's just from life experience. Every time I've ever done something and given myself a backup plan, I failed in what I'm trying to do.
Right.
But if I know that I've got no option but to do this or publicly embarrass myself, then I'm probably going to do everything possible to make it work.
Yeah. Do you think you can have that level of commitment if you're not passionate about it? And I'll give a bit more context. There's a lot of people that start businesses with the aim of...
Yeah, it failed to upload it. It's too big size, so I'll do it when I'm home later because I don't have that podcast anyway. So.
Oh, true, yeah. There's a lot of people that will start a business with the aim of making a lot of money and work towards this life of freedom. That seems to be the common narrative. Do you think that if you're not passionate about the company you're building, if you are just doing it for the money and that one day, that you're able to stick with it? If you're able to burn those boats? Well,
I'd say it's a lot harder. I mean, there definitely are a lot of people that build businesses just for money, like investors and that sort of thing. And I've started doing a little bit of investing, but I try to invest in stuff that I'm really interested in and that connects back to my other businesses so they can all support each other. And it makes everything else involved stronger. I'm passionate about what I do. I love the future. I love tech. I love AI. I love Web3. So I build things around these areas because that's what I've loved my entire life and it's what I've always been interested in. It's probably quite hard for somebody to build a business if they don't really, really love what they do. It's certainly possible, but I'd say you're at a disadvantage.
Right.
I'd say you're probably going to have more success if you really love dogs, building a dog walking business as opposed to building an AI investing platform if you don't care about that. One of them might be the hot thing to do, but you're going to be more passionate about the dog thing, and that's what you're going to spend more energy and more creativity and more commitment and more follow through on, as opposed to the alternative. It's possible, but I just think, you're competing against other people that love that sector. So you're probably going to fail.
Yeah. Before we dive a little bit more deeper into what you're doing now and what you are passionate about, talk me a little bit through, normally I'd ask your 20s, but I believe your period of trying to be a magician was actually before that period, no?
Yeah, man. We've never talked about the magic before, have we? No. Okay, so growing up as a kid, I was given like a deck of cards, like I basically every kid is, and like hey, here's a magic trick for like a Christmas present or something. Started to get pretty good at it, and for some reason, I really enjoyed the feeling of being able to do something that like an adult couldn't do. Like I could amaze a room full of adults, and they have no idea how I did it. And it was like an amazing feeling, a great way to make friends, a great way to network, a great way to get the attention. So I loved doing that and started to get really good. Started to do shows and perform at events and parties. Did some TV shows, Britain's Got Talent. I had my own special for a while. This was kind of before social media was really, really, really like what it is today, like before the whole TikTok thing. But it was still when YouTube was becoming a thing, and we'd post content on there, and some of those videos have still got thousands of views. I still kept them up because it's good to document the journey along the way. I did it for a while, and then kind of by accident, I kind of went into more of the business side of show business. I'd get a lot of requests to do shows. Hey, Alfie, can you be in China? Can you be in Germany? Can you, be in these places doing these events? And despite being magic, I couldn't be in two places at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'd hire my magician friends basically from the magic circle and from these groups to go and perform. I'd take a cut and a margin, and I built up like a talent agency for magic by accident as a teenager. Which was fun. It gave me like a great exposure to business. It taught me about, showmanship and communication and presenting and being on camera, and, taught myself how to code to build a website, taught myself how to edit to get those videos out, taught myself design to get all the, the graphics completed and the business cards and all the marketing. So I taught myself how to be an entrepreneur by turning a side passion or hobby into a thriving business as a kid, really. And it was a lot of fun. I started to enjoy the business side a lot more, but selling magicians for 2 hours a week is not a great way to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So quickly pivoted into my other area of expertise, which was technology, which I used to kind of get my name out there as a magician, and then joined a recruiting agency doing tech. Using the skills I learned as a magician in a weird way to make that happen.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting journey into being now a founder later on. But starting on that adventure, quoting Steve Jobs again, it's really hard to connect the dots looking forward, but it's a lot easier to connect them looking backwards. And that's kind of what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
But the story makes sense when you look at it from that bird's eye view.
I do that as well. At least there was a long period whereby I was like, well, I spent 10 years of my life being a DJ and learning music and producing and all of that stuff. And then at some moment you quit, you're like, I just wasted 10 years of my life, for what? And there was a period whereby I was like, I'm going to do this seriously. I'm going to travel the world and stuff. And realizing that now, a lot of the stuff that I learned from music then, whether that's the music I use in compositions when editing, or the music that I use to tell a story or whatever, all of that stuff, even the being able to sit behind a computer screen for a long period of time editing, like all of that stuff still translates over from my DJ days. So I totally agree with, like, sometimes you don't understand what that has given you, but often it's given you something.
Yeah.
Did you then didn't go to university?
I went briefly. I dropped out. To be honest, I was making more money running a magic company than my professors were making. And then I was asking them, hey, like, it was a business degree. So like, hey, what business did you start? I'm like, I got into this, so I wanted to learn entrepreneurship. Like, what companies? And 90% of them have never worked in business before.
Okay.
It was all academic. It was all
Right.
what they'd read in a book. And I knew even as a kid that was not the way to learn business. You can learn a lot of things in a book. I have jokes. My wife's got a PhD. She's a super academic. She's a genius when it comes to research and big data and AI and algorithms. And I'm not. I'm definitely more street smart than book smart. I think in business, that is an advantage rather than I see all these MBA people and they can't run a lemonade stand.
Yeah.
Like half of them, they're complete full of shit, right?
Yeah.
Like I read something this morning that I think it was McKinsey are going to let go of like 3,000 staff because of underperforming. Like part of me was like, oh, good. Like, yes, get rid of them, because I just have a disdain in a way for those kind of MBA, types that read everything in theory, but they can't do anything in practice.
I totally agree with you. I think a lot of consultants who provide strategic advice to entrepreneurs are the equivalent of 18-year-old life coaches. Right? Because like, you haven't worked a day in your life in a startup. You've learned everything out of the book, and here you are telling me how to run my company. Yeah. And on top, you're going to leave the moment you've delivered the strategic advice to not actually even stay to see if what you advised can be successfully implemented.
And they have no equity in the business, so they don't really care. They get paid either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if people are hiring
outrageous amounts.
Yeah, if people are hiring strategy consultants, then you deserve to be scammed. In my opinion, like you are making. I don't understand how somebody could be that stupid, and it's ridiculous.
Good stuff, man. There's gonna be a lot of stuff for the trailer here. Nice. Okay, so then You worked for recruiting tech first, and then you started your own company.
Correct. Okay. So I was in the UK doing the magic thing, but traveling around. I met a girl, started dating. She finished her master's degree, had an amazing offer to do her PhD in New Zealand. I hadn't been to New Zealand. It sounded amazing. So at 19 years old, I moved to New Zealand with my now wife, and I didn't know a single person there. I had no money. I had like literally like £100 in my account. I had a single carry-on bag. I sold all my possessions, which wasn't really anything anyway, but it was enough to get the flight ticket. And I moved over there, and I had like 30 days to find a job. Otherwise, I'd have to leave the country. Okay. So I burned the boats. I put myself in the hardest position possible, being in a country I've never been in before. Didn't know a single person there, and I had to hunt, or I wouldn't eat, basically. Right. Within like a week, I'd found a job. I had a couple of offers, and I picked a company called Hayes, started as a trainee. And Hayes is one of the biggest recruiting agencies in the world. I learned a lot from doing the magic talent side, but it was me working for myself in my bedroom. It wasn't structured. There wasn't a corporate, environment to it. Big corporate company, Hayes, suit and tie every single day for years. You arrive on this time, you stay late. It's that kind of culture. Maybe slightly different now, after COVID. But back in those times when I joined, it was like suits sort of thing, right? Joined as a trainee. Worked my absolute arse off. I was the first person there every day. I was the last person to leave. I was there every weekend. Within a year, I was the top recruiter in the entire country, outperforming people that had been there for 20 years and that sort of thing. And I was just like 20-year-old kid or something. Yeah. Within 2 years, I was leading a team. And then within 3 years, I got a big promotion, and I moved back with my then wife to London, where we are today. And then I became the UK and Ireland national lead. So I had like 60 tech recruiters spread across the UK, all across the country, Ireland, India. And that's how my whole content thing started really as well. A lot of the stuff we were creating was like internal content for training. Yeah. And I just started posting it on YouTube, and then that kind of became its own thing as well. Same with like the book that I did and all of that stuff. I was there for 5 years, from trainee up to a national lead, earning good money, good corporate salary. But I didn't feel fulfilled, like working as a small cog in a huge machine, knowing that I'm probably not going to be the CEO one day, because that's just not how those big public companies often work. I really wanted to go and do my own thing and be my own boss and, be a founder, be an entrepreneur. So at the time of recording this a year and a half ago, I quit the safe corporate job and started Alpha Technology. It was an interesting period, because within like 3 months, I'd quit my job, bought and moved into my first house, started my company, had a baby. I did like a 10 years worth of stress in like a quarter. Yeah. Ready.
Again, burning the boats, right? In many ways. Yeah. And sort of talk me through those 3 months, like how, despite it, what sounds like obviously being stressful, how did you make sure to make the turnaround?
People often say like leap and the net will appear. And it's so true. The hardest part is just starting. 99% of people just don't start. But the minute you start, it's just persistence after that. I think like my favorite quote of all time, it's by Phil Knight, who created Nike, in the book Shoe Dog. It's not actually a popular quote when you look at the top quotes of books. It's just within the pages that I really, really respected this part. He said that the coward, he's talking about entrepreneurship and building a company. He said that the cowards never started and the weak died along the way. That leaves us. And I always think I'm not a coward and I'm not weak. So that leaves us, the last man standing, basically. And if you can be the last man standing, last woman standing, whatever, then that's like 99% of what you need to win. It's just showing up, it's consistency, it's persistence, it's getting 1% better every single day. And the turnaround, those 3 months, it was incredibly stressful, but you know, pressure makes diamonds, or it can crush you, or it can kill you.
Yeah.
Right. But you just need to decide which path you're going to take. And if you're weak, if you're a coward, then the pressure will kill you. But if you're capable, if you know what you're doing, then you can become a diamond.
I think I agree with you that by embracing the pressure, you can become a diamond.
Yeah.
I think you can also, something that I at least have recently come to realize is if you don't have the right people to mentor you through or guide you or show you that it can be done, you also can crumble simply because you don't know how to go forward.
Yes.
Have in that sense, have mentors been important in your life? And if so, how do you use them, I guess? How do you work together with these mentors in order to keep going?
So have they been important? Yes, it's been probably the most important thing. How do I use them? Well, I started my podcast, basically. So I started my podcast before I had my company because I understood that an audience is so valuable regardless of what you're doing, right? You know, if you build a big audience, you can sell anything. You can sell an energy drink called Prime. You can sell chocolate. You can sell a recruiting agency. As long as you have an audience and they're within your niche. I mean, the riches are in the niches. And if you can master an area, then that's the game, right?
Yeah.
So I started my podcast and I was very purposefully calling it the Alfie Whattam podcast. So it was separate to my previous employer, and started to reach out to people that I wanted to become, people that they had the things, they had the position, they were living the life that I wanted. I wanted those things, I wanted that life. So I would reach out to them, schedule initially a Zoom call and just speak to them about those things. And then, it's such a cliche, but you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Like your net worth, it's your network a lot of the time. Right, I'm speaking in like bumper stickers right now. But,
no, good. I'm smiling because I make like so much of the stuff. I just made videos on exactly that. I think the title of the video was even "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with."
It's so true, man. And like podcasting is a great way to do that, and that's been really beneficial for me. You know, we started like unedited Zoom conversations. Now to thanks to you and other people that we've got involved in the production. Now it's like a Netflix style edit. Dare I say it, some of the episodes I believe are like better quality production and conversation to like Diary of a CEO. Okay, Stephen, I'm coming for you. But like that evolution, that journey, that wouldn't have happened if you just didn't do the first shitty podcast episode. A great hack though, because not everybody wants to start a podcast and people want that network. A great hack is just to read books. Just listen to audiobooks, just listen to podcasts. If you replace, those people around you who are dragging you down and they're always wanting just to go out and get drunk or whatever, that's talking about what's on Netflix, like those people, like they shouldn't be your friends, in my opinion, right? Okay. Yes, to a degree, they will give you the short-term happiness. But for me, I've had a lot more satisfaction, a lot more happiness over friends that will challenge me and inspire me and push me and challenge me to do bigger and better and greater things. And you can be best friends with Elon Musk. You can be best friends with, Bill Gates, with Steve Jobs, with people that are dead by reading their books, by reading their ideas, by reading their blogs, by reading their autobiographies, by listening to their podcast. If you consume those content, and that's the 5 people that you spend the most time with, then amazing. You've created your network.
Yeah. So as I just said, when I created my video on the 5 people, I did have the opinion that you should, if we assume 5 people to be true, you should have 2 mentors, as in 2 people who, as you put it, have the life that you want.
Yeah.
2 people who are in the grind, in the down and dirt, going through what you want, because sometimes the people who already have what you want forget how difficult the shitty parts were, and they make it sound easier than it is. And so having these two people, you can then, when you're struggling, you're like, oh guys, I'm thinking about quitting, you can go to them. And then something that I'm interested to get your opinion on, because you just said the opposite, have that one guy who's always been there, right? And that person doesn't necessarily need to be an entrepreneur. That could be the 9 to 5 dude that you've known since high school. And because in my opinion, this one may almost be the most valuable because he humbles you.
Sure.
Right? He reminds you of like, hey, Alfie, yeah, you're earning $1 million a year now. Good for you. But remember when you were this guy, right? Don't act all tough and shit, but gets you back down to earth. There is this toxic narrative in my opinion, toxic narrative at times that you should get rid of all your friends from the past.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
Like the answer that people want to hear in the narrative, like the polite, friendly thing to say would be, be successful. And then all those people that, let's be honest, you probably haven't spoken to in 10 years anyway, you go back to them and then suddenly you give them all amazing jobs and that sort of thing. And that's lovely in the Disney movie. It's probably not how life really, really works a lot of the time. I've got extremely limited time now because I wake up, I've got this 2-hour morning routine to get me and the kid and the wife ready and walk the dog. And then I got a few hours to work on the business and spend time with my team and podcast. Then I, quick lunch and work out and stuff. And then afternoon back to the work. And then in the evening, I've got to be the dad, I've got to be the husband. So when do I have time to go bowling with somebody I haven't spoke to in 15 years? I think I do agree with what you're saying, like having those people from the past that can ground you and that can humble you, it's important. And I do have those people, like when I go back to York, where I was born, where I was raised, I got a group of people, love hanging out with them. They have no ambition, no motivation, and that's cool. Like everybody is wired differently and there's no better or there's no worse, it's just different. But I would much rather spend my very limited time that I have trying to hang out with people that can elevate my life, whether that's within the business, whether that's make me healthier, whether that's make me happier, whether that's increase my network. I just think that's a better way to spend your time rather than spending time with somebody that's not going to have that effect on you. Now you could say humbling you, you could say that grounding you is a good quality trait, and I'd say it probably is, but do you need to get that from the past, or could you also get that in other ways from the future? I meditate every single day and do yoga. That humbles me, that grounds me. I do a gratitude list every single morning. I did one on the train coming here. Didn't have much time in the morning, but pulled out the notepad and 3 things that I'm grateful for. A quick visualization experience. I've got the audio on the glasses, and I've got the Spotify meditation downloaded to the watch. Click it, go, boom. I was super grounded. I was super humbled. I was super appreciative of everything. This morning I was doing like a 3-minute breath work session on being grateful for the ability to breathe, right? I wasn't born with that. It was just given to me. Yeah, deep breath. It's like, and that, if you can't be happy sitting there and breathing, you won't be happy sitting on a yacht with millions of pounds, right? I don't need somebody from 20 years ago to go for a beer with to give me that satisfaction. I've got that in other ways.
Gotcha. Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No.
But it's just my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. Then you start Alpha Technology. You, if I summarize correctly, help people in the tech sector get essentially the best developers in that space.
Yeah.
In that process, you deal a lot with quite what most people would consider high established individuals, successful individuals in the term of financial sense, whatever success may be. Do you ever catch yourself that you feel like you're dealing with imposter syndrome when you're in that space?
Every second of every day. I'm sure everybody does, really.
Yeah.
I think you probably got too big of an ego if you don't, really. We help software engineers find the best jobs within companies because we believe that the right job can change a person's life, and we believe that the right person can transform a company, right? And recruitment is so amazing to me because when it's done correctly, everybody positively benefits in such an amazing way. Like that individual can then have more money to feed their family and they have more passion and excitement because they love what they do. That company can then grow and then sell and offer better products and services to their customers. That helps the economy, that helps the country, that helps the world. And we can measure how much positivity and value we're adding to the world and society, because the more that we do that, the more money that we get paid. So for us, the money is a great way of keeping score of how much good we're doing for the world in a great way. That's why I love the industry. It's not like if I was selling cigarettes or selling, bombs or something. Yeah, like you're making more money, but are you adding value to the world in a positive way?
Yeah.
Probably not. That's maybe one of the downfalls of capitalism. It's cool, but it definitely has flaws in many respects. So we started it a year and a half ago. Me in my spare bedroom, no money, bootstrapped it, and we've slowly grown that. I had a 6-month restrictive covenant, so I couldn't really do much business for the first 6 months. So with my old agency, in my contract, I couldn't like touch like clients and do business in the same area and niche. So I just spent 6 months doing my podcast, building up a wait list of people that wanted to work with me. And then when it was ready to go, we kind of pulled the trigger, went all at it, full force. And now we built an amazing team, got a small team in London, which we're still hiring for, looking for recruiters right now to join our new office in Victoria. And we're always looking for great other talented people as well. So we've got, yourself working on the podcast. We've got people in Pakistan working on the podcast. We've got thumbnail people in the Philippines working on EA type roles and on our newsletter Coda, and doing all these cool things to scale it. So it's still super early days, but we've been profitable from basically day one, taken no money, and we've grown it month on month very, very quickly. Our second year is probably going to be double our first year in terms of our projections. And then, in a couple of years from now, have an exit, get a nice nest egg to do the next big moonshot project, and go upwards and onwards from there, really.
Very cool. The other day I was giving a guest lecture at school, and
I saw that. Yeah.
Afterwards, a girl came up to me and she spoke a little bit about like she has this ambition to start a company herself. In her case, it was like in streetwear. She was very passionate about shoes and stuff, but let's ignore that part. But she was like, she's shy. She's unsure where to start, and she doesn't know like how, right? Is there any advice to having started a company and having the experience that you do now, when you go back to that sort of starting phase, especially in your case, whereby you're all in even? What should someone do in the beginning?
Well, I would say, just from a practical business sense, the main thing that you need, even before you really launch a company, is you need email addresses of people that are interested in buying whatever you want to sell, basically. So if I was this girl, hypothetically, I would create content, whether that's a podcast, a newsletter. I'd probably create a combination of different things, offering free advice, reviews of shoes. She'd buy the streetwear, whatever it is. She'd do a quick review of it and create loads of those different types of content. Get an editor, mix it up, make it look really cool, and just start adding value in exchange for getting leads. That's top of the funnel. Next stage of the funnel is then they would be directed to a landing page where they'd be given like a free cheat sheet of like the best like streetwear brands and the prices, and do a combination of those different things, and then start to build up email addresses in exchange for these free digital tools and ebooks and courses and videos and products. So then you've got people that are interested in potentially buying that type of thing. So then when she launches something, whether that's a product or she starts being an affiliate of somebody else's or whatever, she's already got like an engaged, interested list of leads which can convert into a customer base. I think the number one thing, Ryan, that people do wrong is they try and start a business and they spend 6 months building a product. They spend all this money on it. They go crazy into it. They launch it and nobody wants it because they haven't. It's not necessarily even market research. They just don't have eyeballs. They don't have people interested in what they want. when I launched Alpha, for the first 6 months, I didn't do a single pitch. I just built relationships with hiring leaders, CTOs, and founders and CEOs of tech companies. If they had software engineers in London, then I wanted to get a coffee with them. I wanted them on my podcast. I wanted to build a relationship with them. Because then when it came time for me to sell something, I had a bunch of people that were my friends and they owed me a favor because I'd done something really cool for them.
Yeah. That's very cool. It's extremely practical. I like that. Most people then
well, you know, a lot
with more vague.
I mean, you know, you hear a lot of, you know, people giving, you know, bullshit advice, like, you know, Ty Lopez or something, and they just talk like some nonsense about, you know, waffle what they read in a book or something, but like, and you watch the video and you don't know anything else that you didn't know at the beginning of the video. Like, I just gave them a framework that girl could do those 3 steps that I mentioned and have a profitable company, right? You know, I don't want to just be some guru that talks.
I appreciate that. It's rare. Okay. You probably know this yourself by now, but when I ended up in this quarter life crisis, I was there because I'd finished my master, and like most people, I'd gone through the entire school curriculum with this assumption that once I was chopped out the top, I would know exactly what I want to do. And in reality, that happened, went through it, great grades, biggest anticlimax of my life, hearing that grade, and I was still clueless. I had no clue. Is there any advice from your perspective, and it probably makes it more interesting because you didn't finish the traditional university route, when you're at this sort of crossroads and you see a million paths in front of you, how do you choose which to take?
Well, certainly don't try to do everything in the early days. And I see this all the time. People will try something for a month and it doesn't work, and they move on to the next thing and the next thing. And by the time they've got to the 10th thing, if they just stuck with their first thing for the same amount of time, they would then be successful in that thing. So it's not even the thing that you need to think about. It's the energy, the time, and the commitment that you give to the thing. That's the thing that people forget about. So, I mean, look, a good question to ask yourself, Ryan, is what would you do if you didn't need money, basically? Like, if you had all the money in the world, you know, what would you do that could challenge you and push you and keep you motivated? Now, without the challenging and pushing part, the answer for a lot of people would be playing FIFA or something, right? And I might be guilty of that in some respect myself. But if you add in the element of a challenge of something, for me, it would be building companies in tech and building like a media platform to talk about them. That's what I'm already doing. Like if I suddenly, you know, sold Alpha and had enough money to never think about money again, to be honest, I'd probably just keep doing what I'm doing now, but just do it on a slightly bigger scale. So like to like a young person, a graduate, somebody in their 20s, somebody going through a quarter life crisis, the question to ask yourself is, don't do it for the money, do it for the joy of doing it in an area that you can be good at and that you can be capable within. If you want to be, you know, let's say you want to be an accountant, right? Or you say you want to be an accountant. If you had all the money in the world, would you still want to be an accountant? Then don't be an accountant then, because you'll just be miserable.
Yeah.
You know, really that person, they want to, you know, let's say they just like watching space documentaries all night. It could be anything. Like they turn on Netflix and they're watching stuff about space, about, you know, maybe do that. Maybe if you're not capable enough in that realm to be a physicist or whatever, then maybe just, you know, start a blog talking about, or a Substack talking about the developments in that industry. You know, you're connected to it at least.
Do you think then that people should do that as a hobby, as in like a thing on the side, or do you mean in this case pursue it for like a career?
Well, you know, I've never really had hobbies myself. If I wanted to do something as a hobby, that's probably me lying to myself because I want to do that as my full-time thing, and I do it as a hobby because I'd be too scared of quitting the safe thing and pursuing that on the side. Mm-hmm. I might be wrong in this, but I would say like fuck hobbies. Like hobbies are for people that are scared to commit. Like make the hobby the thing, commit first, and figure out the rest later.
Yeah.
Like, and if you fail, great, you've learned. Yeah. Right, and then you try again. And as long as you're not, gonna run out of money and not have cash to eat, then you'll be good. Like, yeah. But oftentimes that fear of being in that extreme example is gonna really, really help you make the hobby the thing anyway. Yeah. So I don't know. For some people, maybe they have hobbies. I don't have them. If I have a hobby, within a few weeks, I want that to be the thing, basically.
Right. Trying to think.
Is that healthy? Is that right? I don't know, but it works for me. And if it doesn't work for somebody else, then fine, don't do it. But I can only talk to people that have my kind of mentality.
Yeah, no, because I resonate with it because I sadly don't have hobbies either. But at times I wonder whether I should, in the sense that, I guess it goes on the question, is it healthy? Like I'm someone who obsesses very quickly, whether that's editing or music or I did music for 10 years, right? Same for this now. It's then also full on and editing, trying to do that and scale that business full on. And at times I wonder whether or not I should find something which I can do solely for the enjoyment of it. Maybe to some extent working out is, I guess.
Now you did your body transformation.
True. Yeah.
Do you enjoy playing with your kid?
Of course.
Would you enjoy playing with your kid more than you would binge watching something on Amazon Prime Video?
Ooh. Yes. Yeah. Easy. No, I know. Yeah. No, easily. Easily would.
Then there's the source of joy if you want a distraction.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 27, like me. Yeah. We're not 18 anymore.
No, exactly. Very true. I have arrived at my last question. Okay. And that question is, what does the future hold for Alfie?
I think I'm really happy with the pillars that we have in place right now, with the recruiting agency, helping UK AI and Web3 companies scale and go on to do bigger and better things. Really happy that we got the podcast and we're at almost 150 episodes when this comes out. I'm really happy with Coda, with our newsletter that's growing in readership every single day, and that connects really well to the other businesses. And those are the main things that I'm working on. I don't want to introduce a new thing. I just want to make the current things that we've got as successful as possible. And I do some speaking and did a book and got a course coming out. Do these side projects, but they all connect back to the fundamental mission, really, which is helping kind of build the future and educate others about what that's going to be. And we build the future through alpha technology. And we help AI companies discover new life-saving cancer treatments through building out tech teams that develop code to understand the nature of that reality. We build software which goes onto satellites, which one day will hopefully help man get to Mars and beyond, right? So helping innovate, helping build, helping accelerate through that venture, and then sharing those cool experiences and those cutting edge innovations through the podcast, through the newsletter. And the entire thing is a business. So I enjoy speaking about that business. I love building in public. And then if there's anybody that is interested in those topics and wants to see that journey be built in real time, then that's kind of what a lot of the businessy content is about, really. So yeah, for me, it's about putting everything transparent, everything out there, building in public, sharing the failure, sharing the success, and everything in between. And that's kind of why I just created the whole thing, the concept of alpha, right? Like, my name's Alfie. The idea of being an alpha in Greek or whatever is being the best, the greatest. And I wanted to kind of combine the ideas together. And it's often something that I tell myself, it sounds almost like very, bro-ish or ego-ish, like the word alpha. But that's why we added like the cuteness of the lower font and smile on the logo, because you've spent time with me, you know, I'm not really like those sort of things, right? I'm a little bit more like nerdy, and I care about like adding value and delivering great service and helping people. And that's to me what like being an alpha is about. It's about being super healthy and capable, you know, and having enlightenment and a zen, calm mind, and being that kind of, you know, bastion and like pillar of clarity, of strength, and then doing it with work and adding value and helping people and helping them grow and helping them succeed, and then doing it with your relationships, with your tribe, and kind of being the leader of your pack and helping them have peace and love and happiness. And when you have all those things, that to me is kind of like what becoming alpha is about. Really, it's like I'm starting a religion here. But, yeah. But yeah, I just want to become more of those things and help others get there as well.
Very cool. Thanks so much for your honesty, first of all, and also for your time. Cool. It was a cool conversation. I enjoyed this.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right.